as ministers in the temple of justice.
For anyone on the bench of the Nigerian judiciary, this chamber is the ultimate.
Let us all strive to maintain the independence of the judiciary so as to ensure the rule of law.
And the fact that the ministry is responsible for prosecution of cases makes the ministry very visible naturally.
If it is to buy time, you know who is buying time.
Becoming the first woman in the country to discharge the function. To me, Allah wished it that way.
Welcome to the program, The Scale of Justice.
Tune in every Monday at 2:05 p.m. and repeat broadcast comes up every Wednesday at 6:30 a.m. on the network service of the NTA. Keep a date with us.
Lawyers, either as individuals or as a collective professional body, have always been known as the conscience of a nation. There is something in their training that makes them stand up for the individual rights of the citizens and for the rule of law. And these are very critical areas that help any nation develop. But of recent, Nigerians have been asking what impact Nigerian lawyers have on the development of Nigeria, either in the polity or generally in the administration of rule of law. It would seem Nigerians think that most Nigerian lawyers are now concealed to themselves the duty only of litigation, appearing in court and arguing people's cases. But then what happens outside the justice sector? Every Nigerian is left to fend for himself. And it is on that basis that the Scale decided to find out what lawyers can do to help the Nigerian polity where it is now. Welcome to the Scale. I am Femi Okeowo. Other than litigation, I'm sure there are very many other things that lawyers can do to help the Nigerian polity. And so we have decided to find out from individual lawyers, just a few of them, but just using those lawyers as a sample of opinions as to what Nigerian lawyers, whether as individuals or as a collective body, can do to help the Nigerian polity grow better.
The legal profession is one that is all-encompassing. If you want to eat food, you must invoke the law. Because if you put the food in your nose, you are not obeying the law. The food has to go through the mouth unless you are sick. So, when I say all-encompassing, in a very strict sense, I know that the legal profession, for instance, and as is well known, is in control of the third arm of government, the judiciary. If you don't belong to this profession, you don't have much of a say in that arm of government. It is also the legal profession that, apart from the institutions established by the Constitution, has control of the office of the Attorney General. which is stipulated in the Constitution, whether as Attorney General of the Federation or of a state. So a lot can happen if the 36 Attorney Generals or Attorneys General, as the case may be, of the states, as well as the Attorney General of the Federation, focus on the rule of law. Because it is the rule of law that sets the tempo, sets the pace, sets the tone for development in several areas. And they have to let it be appreciated, in the words of the late Lord Denning, that be you ever so high, the law is above you. It is part of the problems, numerous problems we have in this country. There are lots of people who think that they are above the law. And what that breeds is what the common man calls impunity. And that's what we're seeing in several directions.
How can we check impunity? The attorneys general will not on their own check impunity. Something must trigger it.
What we all say is that unto whom much is given, much is expected. The powers of the Attorney General are enormous. And if each one of them believes in exercising the prosecutorial powers that are inherent in the Constitution, a lot can be done to check impunity. If we have a snake that swallows money, for instance, that snake should be found. If we have a monkey that swallows money, that monkey should be brought to book. I'm just using that as a euphemism for saying those who abuse their powers ought to be called to order.
Lawyers,
that's the beginning.
Individual lawyers, do they have a role in this?
Individual lawyers have a code of ethics, a code of conduct, a well-known boundary within which you operate as a lawyer. If you are mindful of that boundary and you keep yourself within it, you'll also be able to checkmate the antics of your client. There is no lawyer who doesn't have clientele. And if we are bold and we are vigorous in enforcing the rule of law, our clients will comply.
When you talk about attorneys general, they are part of the institution, and so they can easily pander to what the institution wants them to do. Is there a limit? You've talked about boundary for a lawyer. Is there a boundary that tells a lawyer not to checkmate the excesses in our society?
Well, the truth of the matter is that lawyers belong to a robust association. They belong to a robust profession. They belong to an agglomeration of people of different inclinations, different exposures, and so on and so forth. But I just pigeonholed the guiding factor, namely, if you're a driver, for instance, and you are on your lane, there will be no collision. So if every lawyer maintains his lane, as they say, your clientele, your community, your congregation in church or in the mosque, all the people who look up to you will know that you are a pace setter. You are somebody who is expected to abide by the rule of law, as we have said. And if they find you driving on your lane, your client cannot be seen on another person's lane. That is just a functional explanation of what I expect a lawyer to do. If you see your client, for instance, as a lawyer, you can't urinate by the roadside, and you find your client running across traffic light, you can call the person to order.
Not all citizens have lawyers.
Not all citizens have lawyers, but those who do not have lawyers as personal lawyers, have lawyers in their community. They interact with lawyers in social gatherings. They interact with lawyers in churches and mosques and so on. And the point I'm making is that if you know a lawyer, you should think that you know a good person. If a lawyer is not a good person, those who see you, those who are your acquaintances, those who associate with you, will assume that that should be the norm. And that will not be exemplary, to say the least.
Leonard Silk, your theory, would that be enough to begin to see a change in Nigeria if every lawyer is upright and he does the right thing?
You have over 100,000 lawyers, and we have a multiplier effect. If 100,000 can affect, say, 50 million, that's enough to affect the tone and tempo of society.
Would that therefore be right to say that lawyers are also the problem of Nigeria then?
No, I would not go as far as saying that they are the problem. But I remember a philosopher said sometime in the past that if you are not part of the solution, yes, you are part of the problem. So if somebody can say that lawyers are part of the solution, and that's part of our service delivery, we provide solutions to problems. If we do, or if we did, then no one would say that we are part of the problem. We cannot be free from the social mix that contributes to problems, whether within the polity or within the political associations that we have, and so on and so forth. My emphasis is we, as legal practitioners, ought to charge ourselves with the responsibility of calling those who are close to us to order. And I say it very seriously.
And those who are not close to us, what is it in the training of the lawyer that makes him call other people to order without being seen as a busybody?
No, you are not a busybody when you remember what we call duty of care. Every lawyer is taught at undergraduate level that you must love your neighbor. So that's enough for that associational difference. Somebody comes in contact with you as a lawyer and he thinks that, oh, I like his dressing, I like his comportment, I like his demeanor, and so on and so forth. That's what it is.
Without making excuses for the individual lawyer, we find that a lot of them are into survival, going to court to litigate, and just basic survival.
Well, that's why I call it associational. If you don't survive, you cannot save, you cannot teach, you cannot propel somebody in a particular direction. Yes, survival. The first law of nature is self-preservation. If you can't preserve yourself by surviving, then you cannot preserve someone else. So that survival instinct is the first step. But don't survive in a cataclysmic pattern. You have to savage others in order to survive. I would not support that.
We're told that the welfare of judges or judicial officers is not strong enough in Nigeria. Is that a true position, in your opinion?
I will not say that it is not a true position, because the remuneration of judges is not hidden. Their allowances are not hidden. Their well-being is not hidden. There are lots of them who die immediately upon retirement. What it shows is that if you are healthy when you are within and you are unhealthy when you are without, that's a clear pointer that there is still something that needs to be done. In other places, you do not only make provision for a judge who is in service, you also make provision more or less in perpetuity, so that if you eat today and you don't eat tomorrow, is a recipe for quick death. So the only recommendation would then be that the package which so many NGOs have canvassed over the years, even as far back as when I was a state attorney general, is that the package, welfare package, should be such that a judge who eats rice today should not eat stone tomorrow. That's the simplest way of putting it.
Okay.
Yes.
And who is in charge of that? Is it not the judiciary itself that fashions its own welfare?
No. Welfare in that sense is interdenominational, so to speak. You have the NJC, you have the executive branch, you have the legislative branch that makes the provisions. So it's a mixed bag. And if each of the parties thinks very solemnly about what a stable judiciary requires, maybe the position will be better. It's not the judiciary does not say this is what our salary should be. It's a function of a constitutional body. The fixing of salary, the fixing of allowances, and so on and so forth. What the NJC receives is what is appropriated, and it is not what is requested. That always happens. I know that as a former stakeholder, as an attorney general.
Without making it look as if one is heaping all the blame on the NBA, what can Nigerian lawyers do to improve the lot of Nigeria as we find it now?
Well, we've spoken about the individual lawyer. Now you are looking at the collective lawyer, which speaks through the Nigerian Bar Association. The president-elect has promised us, members of his constituency, that he's going to rebrand the bar. I met the bar when it was the you won't call it man now, spokesperson of the downtrodden. That is what I expect the bar now to do. We live in trying times, we live in difficult times, we live in COVID-19 protocol times, and so on and so forth. There is no limit to what you can deploy to describe the times. I think that the NBA now will step up again. We've had difficulties in the past, no doubt, but a rebranded NBA can begin to speak once more to the difficulties we have as a community, as a society, as Nigeria in general.
Lawyers are relevant to national development. In fact, in any society where you go without lawyers, life will be short, brutish, and irrelevant, and might will be right. Lawyers are in every strata of the society. Go to the judicial arm of government, you see lawyers. Go to the executive arm of government, you see lawyers. Then go to the legislative arm of government, you see lawyers. Because without lawyers, it will be difficult to make good laws. You understand? Now, let me take you to the other aspect. Lawyers are like watchdogs of the society. If they see things that are not going right, they have what it takes to file suits that will benefit members of the society. If things are not going right, they can file suit to challenge the decision of the executive arm of government. They can look at the social media bill that came up the other time. You see, so many lawyers came up with suits here and there, especially in Lagos jurisdiction and Abuja jurisdiction, to say, no, we are not comfortable with this bill. We are not comfortable with this law. Set it aside so that it will not breach human rights and all of that. Now, come to the economy. If you go to the CBN, are you telling me that there are no lawyers there? You have lawyers who read banking and finance, and they are there contributing their quota towards national development. as lawyers, we are learned in all aspects. And because we are learned people, we are always eager to contribute our quota towards national development. So anybody who tells you that lawyers are not important in national development or nation building, that person is lying to you.
They are relevant to the nation. Despite the fact that we have some of them that are crooked, there are others that are still practicing what the law profession asks them to do. So they are relevant. Without them, we will have so many things going wrong. If you don't have justice, that means there is not going to be peace. Whatever you do, you should have your rights. You should have your privileges. So without the law or without the lawyers, you cannot get all these things. So as far as I'm concerned, without them, we are nowhere. They are very, very relevant. In as much as some are corrupt, I can be corrected, but I still stand my ground that without the law profession, we cannot go anywhere. We can't move forward.
People may be so worried about some miscreants in the profession, but the truth of the matter is it is so with every profession and everything you do in life. You have advantages, you have disadvantages. But if you see the advantages, if you weigh the advantages of legal practice, the presence of legal practice, it far outweighs the disadvantage we would have suffered if there was no legal practice. There are instances of people suffer injustice from individual, but because they know they can come to law courts or approach lawyers to get redress, it makes there be orderliness and coordination in the society. But where if you know you suffer injustice, nowhere to redress, you can take law into your hands and there will be chaos. There will be anarchy in the society and there will not be peace. So the effects of legal practice and the presence of the lawyer in the society cannot be overemphasized.
In terms of the lawyers, how we can empower the lawyers, well, it is a function of the economy. The economy is tightened. More so, COVID-19, is not helping matters. It's where when the economy strives very well, that's where lawyers can also, come into being. Can also have, a stake and also have, partake in one economic activities or the other, that we assist the lawyers in drafting agreement, in taking part in. So that is one. More importantly, the government also supposed to open the space. There is a suggestion sometimes that all the 774 local governments should employ, lawyers as judicial officers. If that is rigorously done, religiously followed, then it will take off some of these lawyers off the street of, joblessness. That is another area. Then emphasis should not be placed on litigation alone. There are other areas where lawyers can, go into that has not been fully exploited. We are seeing unemployment in terms of litigation. No, there are other areas where lawyers can also, partake in the economic activities of the country that we, give them, means of livelihood. Conduct of lawyers, well, that's true. The disciplinary machinery put in by the body of benchers, the disciplinary committee of the body of benchers, which is the highest body of discipline, they are trying, but the workload is too much. Now, at the NBA level, at the Nigerian Bar Association level, all the branches have disciplinary committees. This committee, they are just sifting the allegations made. So this committee should be made to work. At the NBA level, if there is an allegation of breach of professional conduct on lawyers, at the branch level is just to look at it and see whether there is a prima facie case before you now send it to the disciplinary committee of the body of benchers. It should be expanded.
These are times when all hands need be on deck. If Nigeria goes down, all professions go down with it, and so all professions too cannot leave everything to the politicians to administer. The professionals in Nigeria can rise up and do something positive to help the system. That's the scale for you on this day. We shall be extracting other issues as the days go by. We'll see you again.